Welcome into another edition of the Saints Insider. Today is Wednesday, August the 5th, and on this podcast, we could not get Martha Reeves to come sing the national anthem for us, but we do have plenty of Saints news. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go search Rod's Instagram account. Or go search TMZ's Instagram account and find Rod's comment on it. Martha Reeves, infamously now, having sung the national anthem at the first Women's Pro Baseball League. Matt, you were just discovering this.
It was quite the sight to behold.
The sound.
Yes, the sound
to behold.
Yeah, you could see sounds after something like that for sure. But we've got plenty to get to, so we won't waste any more time on that. It has been 8 days since Saints training camp opened last Wednesday. I think 6 practices, is that right?
That's correct.
2 in pads now. And it has been, God, Rod, this is what, your 10th Saints training camp, something like that?
It's been pretty eventful.
It has been as eventful a first week as I can remember. I mean, I don't know about you.
Yeah, I mean, without a doubt. I mean, from injuries to players. I know we're going to get into it, so I don't know if I need to spoil it right now. But
no, go for it.
The players abruptly retiring that we weren't expecting. It's been pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's not all good or bad or anything, Matt. It's just busy. It's just like it seems like something new has happened every day. Or just to take people behind the curtain, when we plan our coverage, it's like, okay, well, you're going to write this today. Luke's going to write this today. Jeff and Rod will write that tomorrow or whatever. And then we've already 3 times in 8 days had to snap our fingers and say, well, forget all that. We're doing this today.
It's just a pure volume play. And it's been chaotic, not to the point where I think, like, oh, man, the Saints are in trouble here. It's just like, Taysom Hill's announced that he's not coming back to New Orleans. Okay, well, we have to write that. You don't necessarily expect Jaylen Pulk to retire, but that happened. Even good news, like Chris Olave signing an extension. You just have to grab that. So, hey, it's the nature of the job, but it's made for a real interesting time, and I think has even overshadowed some of what's going on in the field, which we can talk about as well.
Absolutely. I think that's what people are really kind of hungry to know about is how the Saints look on the field. So we'll talk plenty of that too, and kind of go through some of those news items. We've talked about Olave and Taysom on last week's podcast, but we'll touch on a lot of that too. First, I want to let you know that Saints Insider is sponsored by Bank Plus. From small business to big business, home loans to bank anywhere technology, Bank Plus is here for New Orleans. New deposit customers can reach out today to learn about incredible rate specials. Learn more at bankplus.net. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. And just, I guess, I don't know. A lot of this stuff was expected, Rod. Like, right? It's. By the way, that's Rod Walker. That's Matthew Paris. I'm Zach Hugin. I was so excited about my Martha Reeves joke. I forgot to introduce the people who were actually here. Some of the stuff's expected. We knew Chris Olave was almost certainly going to sign his new deal at some point in camp. We knew Taysom Hill almost certainly was not going to be back. None of that was surprising. Injuries happen. They've happened all over the NFC South, by the way. We'll talk about that too. But I don't like none of this news, like Matt said, is a net negative or positive for the Saints. And so I'm curious, and we'll do this at the end of the show too. But like, do you feel more or less optimistic about the Saints than you did a week ago?
I think I'm probably still the same. I don't think nothing's happened that's affected my thoughts on that. Obviously, the Brian Brzee injury on day one was a big blow, but I do think they have some depth there, and we'll have to see how those guys step up. But I feel the same way now that I felt this time a week ago.
Yeah, I guess that's kind of to my point. Is like I don't know if this is supposed to make us feel better or worse about the Saints. None of the news has been that impactful outside of, I guess, the Brzee injury, obviously, and then Olave. Do you buy into the idea that would have become a distraction at some point, Matt?
I don't know. I do think it would have become a distraction from the sense that, like, the offense is looking to become a lot more explosive this year, and he's their most explosive player. And so you need him on the field to get those reps to see how he fits alongside Jordan Tyson. You just needed him back at some point, and they got it done so quickly that it didn't really even become that big of a deal. So credit to them for that. And the other area I think is notable about all that's occurred is just, we saw it last year too with Derek Carr's retirement. Not a lot phases Kellen Moore, and I think that's what you want as the season unfolds. When there are trying times, that you want your coach to kind of have kind of an even keeled demeanor, and we've seen that to begin camp. He's been pretty much the same guy every day.
I think Olave would have become a distraction if he didn't show up at all. But the fact that he was there, and he talked about he didn't want it to be a distraction, which is why he was there, I think that made it a lot better, too. I mean, it could have gone on another week. I think if he was there, I think people would have still been okay, but it's good they got it out the way in 2 days.
Yeah. And the Saints got it done earlier than some of their other deals. I mean, Michael Thomas took a week. It feels like the first few days before the season opener, they always get some sort of extension done. Caesar raised the 1 year. Others that are not coming to immediate mind, but they've used that time to get deals done. But they didn't have to this year. I mean, they might still, but they didn't have to with Olave.
Yeah, and my last thought on the Olave deal is that the Ravens gave Zay Flowers a new deal just yesterday that was more total money and more guaranteed money than Olave got. And maybe this is just my own bias of having watched Chris Olave play a lot more. Zay Flowers does have good numbers. I never in my mind thought about him as being in the same echelon of receivers as Chris Olave. And so I was surprised to see that. And to me, it kind of makes me feel like the Saints got a pretty good deal out of it. They maybe got a little bit of a discount. Now, the concussions, the injuries are part of that, certainly. But every time you see the market get reset, you kind of have this, they didn't really overpay that guy. He's worth that.
Yeah, no, I mean, there was already you saw the Drake London deal, you saw Garrett Wilson's deal last year. There was kind of a template to how this was progressing, and the fact that they got it done before Zay Flowers, it could have, those deals might have easily been reversed for all we know if Chris Olave came next. And then you have down the road, I think they're putting it off for this season, but next offseason, Puka Nacua is probably going to reset the market again. So there's always a timing and an urgency with these things, just so the price doesn't keep going up, up, up.
I think with Zay, when you look at Baltimore, you think so much about Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry that I think you may not even realize how good his numbers are, because I was the same way.
Yeah, he didn't have a lot of touchdowns, but his yardage was way up there. More of a deep threat guy. The certainly never had a 100 reception season like Olave did, but his, I think, went over 1,200 yards twice in the last 3 years. So he's got some numbers. That does bring to mind what I'm going to call our comment of the week from last week's show, and this is from John McElroy, 2096, who says, I have seen a couple of stories that the next big contract to deal with / hear about is Kool-Aid McKinstry's. My understanding it is up after 2027 with no fifth-year option. I'm wondering if this is too early to worry about. I think we will take the year to see how well he plays and not listen to the internet troller trash. I like that comment for a couple of reasons, because internet troller trash is just a great term. But it is interesting. You're right in that as a second-round pick, Kool-Aid does not have a fifth-year option. And I think it's the larger point here, Matt, is it is early to be talking about this, but the Saints, when you have good draft classes, you have to start worrying about this stuff, and you have to start planning for it. Saints have some cap space, but at some point you have to make decisions on who you're going to give the second deal to and who you won't.
Yeah, I mean, for Kool-Aid specifically, you have to wait 3 years to become eligible for an extension. So it's not something that they could do now anyway, but he's the guy on this roster that I think could really benefit from a huge season just financially. If he goes out there and balls, then he could be paid like a top corner. If not, then, he'll still make nice money. But the tier of corners, I think, that's where the money gets really interesting. And he's looked pretty good so far, so we'll see if it translates.
And he's the one guy on this roster who I think has to have a big year. I just think if he's not good, I think that the whole defense, it affects the entire defense. It affects the future, because you have this guy who you think is going to be your number one cornerback for the next few years. So he needs to deliver, and so far he has.
I mean, quarterbacks, tackles, edge rushers, and then corners is probably next as far as team building and where you're going to spend your money. If he proves he's that lockdown corner, he's going to get paid. We also, Brian Brzee, when he comes back from his injury, will be in a contract year. Tali Fuaga's in the same draft classes. Kool-Aid, now he could have a fifth-year option. And then you get to Kelvin Banks and Tyler Shuck. So it's all coming down the road here over the next couple of years. Like, you do have to be – Jonas Sanker's in that draft class as well with Kool-Aid. I mean, you do have to start thinking about, if you want to keep these guys around, who you show the money to and how you allocate those resources. So
I'm impressed that you knew Tyler Fuaga's name, because the other day – Devon Gotcha, I was talking, he was listening out there. The offensive lineman, and he said them all, and he got to Tyler, and couldn't think of his name. He said number 75.
Yeah. Big number 75, yeah. Not big to Gottschall, but big to the rest of us. Okay. That brings us to the one big piece of news that we haven't really discussed on this show, and that is Jaylen Pulk's retirement, which came down Sunday, like an hour or two after practice. And we just kind of got the notification from the Saints. It doesn't happen this way very often. Again, to kind of pull back the curtain, Matt, like, usually you hear about it, one of us hears about it, or Adam Schefter or Ian Rappaport or somebody is kind of hinting that this might happen. This happened from the team. The Saints have a media channel, and they said Jaylen Pulk placed on reserve retired list. And it was kind of, you had to do a double take. You get that notification on your phone. You're like, wait, what? Young player, was he 24 years old?
Yeah.
Hasn't played much, had a really bad rookie year with New England, and then was injured all year last year after coming to New Orleans. But he was on the upswing. If you listened to anybody who was out at practice, if you just watched what was happening, he was getting more reps. He wasn't going to be a starter on this team, but he was certainly going to see playing time. And then he just ups and retires.
Yeah, they had a clear vision for him, and that was to be their fourth receiver, to kind of, they tried to instill a lot of confidence in him when I don't think the New England situation produced much confidence left. Like, they said, come here. It doesn't matter what you did there. We're going to build you back up. We loved you coming out of the draft. Don't worry. And it seemed like it had been a pretty good fit. I mean, he got a ton of reps with the ones during the spring when Jordan Tyson and Chris Olave were sidelined. They were really pleased with the effort that he had put in with his rehab coming back from a shoulder injury. And the thing that's interesting about it is there's really no explanation for why a guy at 24 just decided to, not pursue football any longer. I mean, Kellen Moore said that Polk's decision was personal. Polk hasn't, put out a social media post or anything, kind of explaining his viewpoint on it. So I do wonder what ultimately inspired him to do it, or what was the final push. But at the same time, I mean, these things do happen in the league. Dallin Holker did last year, I think. He just called it quits. I think Commanders cornerback the other day also did it. I know in Washington there were a few more. Antonio Gandy Golden, if we want to just go real obscure names, did the same thing. So it seems like there's 2 or 3 teams every year that a guy just is all right, this isn't for me. But it's surprising in the context of the Saints because of how much they seem to want out of him and how much they invested in terms of trying to make him feel better and, indicate that they were counting on him.
I think those 90-degree temperatures, man, he probably was like, yeah, I'm out. I'm out.
I almost said that today.
Yeah. The thing that surprised me about it, though, is when we talked to him in OTAs and even in the locker room last season, he sounded like he was really excited and determined to get back and, kind of reset his career and show what he can do. And then all of a sudden, and I don't know, I mean, it could be something personal, something back home. We don't know. So I don't want to get into all that. But I do feel like he seemed like he was ready to come back and play.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we wish Jaylen and his family well. We have no idea what personal issue it could be, but obviously if it's serious enough to walk away from a multi-million-dollar job, then it's a pretty serious deal. So, but it is surprising because usually, the situations you're talking about, I guess Dallin Holker is a pretty good comp. And Polk had obviously made a little more money than Holker had at that point, at being a second-round draft pick and getting some more guarantees. But a lot of these guys, it's because they're disgruntled for some reason. They're struggling with the coaching staff. Doesn't seem to be the case here. Right. They have some sort of concussion, history, right? Polk was injured, but he doesn't have that history. So that doesn't seem to be the case. That was like the Andrew Luck thing. Or they're at the tail end of their career like Tyrann Mathieu last year, and it's like you said, and you just get to a new training camp and you're like, I just don't think I can do this anymore. I've made my money. I've secured my legacy. I'm walking away. This didn't fit any of those buckets, so I really don't know what it is. We're not going to speculate, but it was surprising.
It was, and I think it creates a clear question of who replaces him now, and that question is not answered yet.
Yeah, I mean...
And they have a deep receiver room, so this is like really going to, give some of these guys another chance.
Somebody was going to get cut, right? I mean, Trey Palmer or somebody was going to get, or Barry Brown, who's been kind of the camp darling of the last couple days. We'll talk about him, but one of these guys was not going to have a roster spot that will now. And you still have your Olave, Tyson, Devon Vele probably are your top three, but everything after that, you got a lot of bodies. Somebody will step up and be wide receiver 4.
Yeah, Kevin Austin is another one that he got. They rotate the reps with the ones, so you can't really read too much into like receivers specifically. But it is notable that like he's a guy. Kevin Austin is a perfect guy in the NFL in the sense that like every year there's just someone who is a backup that gets their opportunity in week 13, 14. And for the last 2 years, he's been that guy. He's played in 16 games, 3 starts. I would venture to say those 3 starts always come near the later of the season. And he took advantage of his opportunity. And if that's the same now, then, he has an opportunity to do the same thing again. It's just there's, the Saints drafted rookies that they hopefully want to have those spots. I don't think they're going to add like a Keenan Allen. Let's put it that way.
And then you got Mason Tipton also, who's not around.
Injured. So Bub Means is still around.
Yeah.
Ronnie Bell.
Yeah, they've got. Was that Bell like just because his name is Bell?
Yes.
Okay, I was wondering if I was missing an inside joke.
No, he was not in Washington.
Yeah. Okay. So plenty of names. Again, if we're talking about whether this news affects the Saints, you never want to lose players who seemed like they were on the upswing or anything. And I know people were optimistic about Jaylen Pulk, but I don't think losing Jaylen Pulk is like, I don't know about the Saints now.
No.
Humble.
What about losing a cell phone?
Losing your phone. I'll pick that up later. Ultimately, he was your 4th receiver, and how many yards are you getting from that situation? It's only concerning from the Saints' perspective is because that's a room that has a lot of injury history.
All 3 of the top 3 guys, and Polk also had missed significant time with injuries.
Yes. If you say, all right, he's a 4th receiver, how many yards is he actually going to produce? Totally fair, valid. It's just this team is a little different in the sense that 4th receiver ends up usually playing a little bit more than normal. So it also is important, like, this is why this team drafted Jordan Tyson. If they had ignored receiver in the first round,
it's a good point.
And you had gone into, okay, we've got Polk, Olave, and Vele, like, that's a good enough room. Well, then you'd really be scrambling. So that was an insurance pick. It turned out to be insurance, even though I think it was a clear need for him. So, good job by the Saints on doing that there.
Yeah, I mean, it does kind of color that decision a different way when you go back and look at that first round choice. And we were all saying, well, what about Caleb Downs? What about an edge rusher? Do you need to pick somebody on the defensive side of the ball in that first round? And did you really need a receiver? Yeah, I think they did really need a receiver, especially now.
Yeah, I mean, he's looked good, so far. Jordan Tyson has, so they got it right, and it ended up working out for him. So, I agree with you. I don't think Jaylen Polk's retirement is going to affect my outlook on this team at all.
I can also see him being a guy who in a couple of years decides he's going to try out for somebody else, but obviously will not have the security of that rookie contract that keeps him on for a few years, and we'll see what happens. So, again, wish him well. Really probably the most surprising news that's happened so far in a busy week, but the Saints will move on, and so will we.
No Andrews Peat Love, man?
We do. Oh, Andrews Peat retired as well after a year in Vegas and a year in Pittsburgh, right?
Saints Hall of Fame? Bram? Would you vote for him? I don't have a vote.
I think so, man. He made 3 Pro Bowls.
3 Pro Bowls. He was on 4 division championship teams.
Yeah, I think that usually gets you in. I mean, fans might not like it, but I think,
Right.
and at some point, though, I think we have to start reevaluating this Pro Bowl thing after some of the people who were added last year. So
Snoop Huntley.
Stuart Sanders, Pro Bowler.
Yeah.
That's a good example, though, of like how busy this week has been, because I completely forgot about that until you said something. And he was a notable first-round pick who I think a lot of people kind of thought for a long time he wasn't worth a first-round pick. If you look back at the totality of a Saints career, he was a pretty good pick.
Yeah.
Especially at the end of the first
He
round.
would always have a player, too, that fans will always just, they'll see the clip of it and Pete's looking back and Breeze is laying on the ground or something maybe. But for the most part, I mean, he had a solid career here and really an underappreciated guy for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, speaking of injuries and things like that, there's just a couple minor things, hopefully minor things, cropping up at camp the last couple days. Like today, Matt, it was so Kendry Miller, which you never want to hear his name on any sort of an injury report. Kellen Moore said it was back spasms, not serious. But again, anytime you hear Kendry Miller, I think people just roll their eyes, or you start to wonder about his longevity in this franchise. And then Christian Miller, the second-round pick, that's a toe injury. Saints fans know, if you've been a Saints fan for longer than 5 years, you know about toe injuries and what they could mean. Now, Kellen Moore says none of these are serious. And then Jeremiah Wright was the other one, who was a shoulder. He's a guy who's looked pretty good in camp as a rookie as well. So rank these 1 through 3 for me in terms of how concerned the Saints and their fan base should be.
Oh, God. I mean, who knows? I would say Christian Miller being 1 just because he said it was a little toe, but, does that mean, is there turf toe there? That's the big question. And if there's turf toe, well, then that's you've really got to monitor it. It's really hard to play through.
Sometimes you need surgery.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
that's almost always the big toe, though, I think.
Right. Well, he said he did not mean little toe as in, I don't think he did.
He didn't mean like that.
Oh, you meant like it was a minor toe.
It was a
injury.
minor toe.
Okay.
Yes.
I don't
See,
know
when you said
Miller,
that, I thought, it's his pinky toe.
Well, this is the joke that if Luke was on this podcast, he'd be hammering that because he was doing bits after practice with that. And then
Never heard of that one before. Little toe injury.
Jeremiah Wright, shoulder apparently of normal size.
It's actually probably a pretty big shoulder.
Yeah. And Kendry Miller, I choose to believe them at face value of, all right, it's back spasms. He had been doing stuff. I mean, we'll see how long it lasts, but if it doesn't work out, he's at the stage of his career where, he needs to be out there. And if he can't, that's unfortunate for him. But I don't know if it's a huge loss for the Saints only because they're used to it by now.
I just think that's exactly right, Rod. If Kendry Miller's not out there, he's going to lose his spot.
Yeah.
And we talked about it before the year with the ACL. It was a little surprising to see him out there right away at camp. So that was good. But he hasn't exactly been popping. Now he's got this come up. He's already missed at least one practice. Is he going to miss more? There's only so much a guy can miss, and you can still be considered a viable member of the team.
He's missed 2 practices, by the way.
2 practices, okay.
Clean that up.
Both padded practices?
Yes.
So he's missed both of the padded, which for a running back, you got to be in there for those.
Well, I think he practiced a little bit Monday, and then it probably tightened up on him, and then I didn't see him doing anything today.
I was hoping that he was out because of, just coming back from the knee injury. I thought, okay, maybe they just kind of rest him a little bit.
Maintenance.
That's what I was hoping. But then you hear another, his back now. And those things can linger. It may be gone and he may be back out there tomorrow. But just the fact that it is him, it's
Will he be back or is it a back? Sorry.
Oh my gosh! I'm a dad joke person, but come on, he's too damn young to have back issues. Let's be honest with ourselves.
He's a football player.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
This is a very consequential.
How could you have back issues meanwhile he's being tackled by 350-pound men?
This is a very consequential 3 weeks for Kendry Miller. He's got to get out there. He's got to play in the preseason games. He's got to show out because the Saints have bodies there, and we've said it 100 times on this show. Kendry Miller's got the best upside. He's got a lot of talent. Look at what he can do. But if he's not, it's the whole line about the best ability being availability. If you're not out there, you just can't go be a third string running back. They need somebody who's going to be there.
Rod, did you wish Dennis Allen was here for
today?
For Kendra Miller's
that would have been good.
Oh, man. Somebody should ask him about it at Bears camp. Did you see Kendra Miller mispracticing? Oh, my gosh. Okay, so, look, outside of Brzee, the Saints have not had a major injury in camp. And I do want to just, knock on
wood for them, I guess.
These little minor things, these happen. A hamstring happens. All those sorts of things happen to, you got 100 guys out there, like some of them are going to, 90 guys out there, some of them are going to get dinged up as they run into each other repeatedly for 40 days. But these ones, it feels like you could manage. I did want to take this opportunity to bring up what's going on around the NFC South, because you've had some notable, both Carolina with Nick Scorton and Atlanta with Jalen Walker have lost starting edge rushers who were really being counted on, I think, to be big producers this year. Carolina also has Chris Brazell, the wide receiver, suffered a significant injury. I think he's out till like the end of October. Atlanta has both of its quarterbacks are banged up. Tua's got is that back spasms also? Am I thinking about that right?
I think he has his back.
And he's obviously got his concussion history. And then Penix is still working his way back from a knee injury, is not ready for contact or anything like that. And Tampa doesn't have the major injuries, but they've got these. Vita Vea wants a trade and has a contract situation. Baker Mayfield has a contract situation. We knew this division was a mess, but it's a bigger mess than we thought.
Yeah, this could be another one of those years where 8 wins the division. Yeah, I mean, it's early in training camp, and there are going to be some more things that are going to pop up over the next few weeks as well. I mean, just kind of how that's the nature of training camp. So,
I do think of them, I think Carolina's start is the most disappointing from their perspective, just because you win the division, you do kind of back into it, but there still is some momentum of winning the division, and look at where we can go from here. And they were counting on him, on that pass rusher, to take a leap, and it just the vibes seem to have been dashed a little bit. We talk about the Saints' vibes and how high they are. Carolina, I think their vibes are have had the sharpest hit on the stock market, to use that analogy. Whereas the other vibes of Tampa and Atlanta were always, they entered camp kind of iffy.
Yeah, and Tampa Bay's issues could be solved. Those guys could get new contracts at any time, and maybe Baker just plays with a chip on his shoulder, and he seems to play better when he's got a chip on his shoulder. So maybe that will all work out. I think it depends on how you feel about Atlanta. If you came into the season thinking Atlanta could be a surprise, they lose Walker. The other young edge rusher they had who was so impressive, James Pierce, has legal issues and may miss. He's still waiting to hear if he's getting a suspension from the NFL. I mean, you lose both of those guys, and you've got quarterback injuries. If your expectations for Atlanta were already low, Rod, then maybe it's just, okay, well, this is just a lost season for them. But at this point, if you did have high expectations, I think you have to kind of re-examine.
Yeah, I mean, I've kind of had high expectations for them the past few years. I think I picked them to win the division.
That's why I
last
looked
year.
at you for this.
Yeah. They still got Bijan Robinson, though. But yeah,
he got paid.
But
he did.
Yeah. But with the issues at quarterback and losing those two guys on defense, I think they definitely, take a step back. And, I think right now I probably would pick the Saints to win this division.
All right. Well, that's a good segue into our last segment here. We're going to do a little stock up, stock down after the first week of training camp. In what areas do we feel better or feel worse about where the Saints are compared to where we felt just a week ago? And yes, before anybody says anything, this is a little bit of an overreaction. It's been a week. We reserve the right to change our minds again. Having said that, Matt, where do you feel better about this roster than maybe you did 8 days ago?
Stock up on the defense. Just Kool-Aid McKinstry specifically. I think they just have real solid depth across the roster. For NOLA.com today, I wrote about kind of the position battles that are taking place among the starters, and they're kind of all on defense, but I actually think it's a reflection of how much talent maybe on that side of the ball of all right, yeah, you have Pete Werner, but Danny Stutzman is really progressed nicely. So let's see what he can do, and if he can push him for a starting spot. John Ridgway is a depth piece that they made a priority to re-sign when free agency opened. Okay, can he unseat Nathan Shepard? And even a guy like Ike Yadam, he was a starter last year for them. If Quincy Riley, for whatever reason, slips, maybe he could be a threat to unseat him. He didn't take first team reps today, but they pulled Riley the other day, and I do wonder if that was maybe kind of like a message, hey, you got to be on top of your game. But they've really shut down the starting offense. That starting offense, I think maybe understandably has not taken that step because there's a lot of been moving parts. But I think a lot of it too is just this is a team that's very good at keeping the ball in front of them. They don't really allow deep shots, and they're a hard unit to make plays against.
I'm still concerned about the depth in the secondary a little bit, but I will say even at the highest level, if Chase Young's just ready to become a star, did anybody say 15.5 sacks? I don't know. But it doesn't have to be 15 sacks, but if he's just ready to become a star, and if Kool-Aid McKinstry is ready to be a number one corner, and if Jonas Sanker can hold down the star, and Julian Blackmon can pair with Justin Reed and be healthy, and then we talk about the linebackers looking good. This has the makings of a top 10 defense. And I know they were statistically last year. Some of that, I think, was a little bit skewed by playing a lot of teams early in the year where they were far ahead, and so they weren't pushing the ball down the field. And then you're playing weaker teams later in the year. So, in my opinion, that top 10 ranking a little bit skewed. They're trending more toward a legitimate at least top 12 ranking, say, in the NFL to me.
No, I think so, too. And I think, you think about them replacing DeMario. I think bringing in Caden Ellis, I don't think you miss a beat there, really. And I think the edge rushers are going to be really good. I think Chase, Granderson, Cam Jordan, Chris Rump, all those guys are going to be really good. So they've definitely been ahead of the offense in camp so far. And I think the two safeties, Blackmon and Justin Reed, are both going to be really solid. To me, that may be more of a concern. If one of those two guys go down, I'm probably a little bit more concerned. But yeah, I really like the defense. That would definitely be my stock up.
That was your stock up as well. Yeah. Okay. Well,
I was going to give. Can I do an individual question too? I thought Matt was going to say it, but I think Barry Brown has Barry Brown. Am I saying it right? Barry Brown.
Barry Brown.
Yeah, the LSU receiver who I thought he's going to be more of just a guy that can, use in the return game. But with Jaylen Pulk now retired, I think Barry Brown is making the most of his opportunity. He had a play yesterday when he wasn't able to track the ball. Was that yesterday or today?
Monday.
That was Monday. Okay. But since then, he's caught everything that's come his way, and he's been really impressive. And he has the speed and the fact that he can help out on, that he's going to be used on special teams. I think I like his chance of getting a spot on this team.
We're going to do, I think, a whole pod Friday's episode about kind of under the radar camp. Well, you and I collaborated on the name Mason Tipton All-Stars, guys who just kind of pop in camp and you go, oh, wait, let me look up what number is that? And you got it. And Barry Brown's not quite that anonymous because he was a draft pick and he went to LSU. Everybody knew who he was, but he's certainly popped. And in light of the Jaylen Pulk retirement, you start to, somebody's going to get more opportunity and maybe it's him.
Yeah, no, I think it's important. Was he 5'10"? What is he shorter than that? What? I think it's important for a guy that size to be able to show that he can withstand the physicality of the NFL. And I think what's been the most impressive thing about the last few days is actually when the pads come on, he's shown up. And today he had a real impressive play it was in a 2-minute drill. Spencer Rattler found him kind of in the intermediate part of the field for the first down. But he was able to stay in bounds and then just took off running, and it was for 36 yards. It was he really has that burst. He's so dang fast that that's it does remind me a little bit of how Mason Tipton showed out during camp, and then Tipton did not really get an opportunity and did not produce when he had an opportunity in the regular season. But man, if that actually translates to games, I think you got to explore how to get him on the field, at least in some sort of specialty package or something, because it really does seem like a weapon.
I think the fact that he played in the SEC and with LSU and Kentucky, I just think, Tipton came from
Yale
or Harvard. Yeah, Yale. So I think that kind of benefits Barry Brown as well.
That's a great point.
That he's been in. He's been in the fire. And
He's a lot of the guys he's lining up against. He probably lined up against
right.
at some point in his college career. So that helps. All right, stock down, Matt.
Barry Brown is 5'11".
I thought you were about to say stock down. It was Barry Brown. I was like, I'm confused. But.
No, stock down is. I don't think he's looked bad. Stock down is my idea that Tyler Shuck has taken a huge year 2 leap. I think he's looked fine. I think he'll get better as camp goes and progresses. I just don't think he's come into camp lighting the world on fire like maybe I and a lot of people had thought. I think Monday's practice was clearly his best so far. He was sharp. He was decisive. The offense got into a bit of rhythm. And today he was 10 to 15, good completion numbers. A lot of it was just shorter sort of routes. His best throw was a comeback to Chris Olave, but that was 12 yards. He just hasn't really had a lot of wow moments, and I think that's okay. It still relatively is early. But I guess this is the problem where expectations
that's
and
my
potential, like that kind of catches up to you. And maybe that's unfair to him, but that would be my answer for now.
This is a little bit of a problem of expectations. Is if you go in expecting him all of a sudden to be an all-pro quarterback or something, it's like, well, hold on, where is that coming from?
Right.
I think we have to temper. We saw 9 games yesterday or last season. They were good. I think they were spectacular, but they were good, Rod. And if you expect him to all of a sudden be, one of the top quarterbacks in the NFL, maybe, but you also may have another thing coming, or maybe needs more time to grow into that.
Yeah, but that was going to be mine as well. I just felt, to me, that's like the obvious one. He hasn't lit camp up. Like, we haven't just been bragging about him at all. And I was kind of expecting us to be talking about Tyler Shuck every day about how the ball's not on the ground and all that. But to me, he just hasn't quite made that leap that we were expecting. So
I do think, though, you are starting to see signs that Jordan Tyson, I think it has been a positive, and specifically Shuck's chemistry with Tyson has been a positive as camp has gone along here. Early on, there were some miscommunications. One led to an interception, another hit Tyson on the shoulder. Since that day, it's really been kind of it's been smooth. He's been kind of his go-to target. They connected on a route in the middle of the field where Tyson caught it going down the other day. You just see kind of this chemistry starting to build, which is what you want.
And again, it's been 8 days. I mean, we're by definition probably overreacting. We could. The offense is almost always going to start behind the defense in these camps. The timing is not there. It's much more important to an offense than it is to a defense to have that timing, that chemistry. And I think things could change. So we could have a totally different conversation in 8 more days, which I think takes us to the Saints-Jaguars joint practices. And then, they go to California. There's a long way to go here. So I do think that it's just important to reiterate we're just talking about the first week. So
I might give a thumbs up to Spencer Rattler, too. I think he's been a little better than he was last year. I mean, it's not a
QB controversy.
Yeah, I mean, he's not battling for the starting job or anything like that. But I think for a backup, I think he's had a pretty solid camp as well.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, and that's a good thing because, by the way, Tyler Shuck also has an injury history. He didn't have it last year, but he has had it in the past. So having a backup you trust is an important thing, too. All right, that's going to do it for today's episode. As I said, we'll be back with kind of a fun episode on Friday looking at some unsung camp heroes and things like that. Unless, who knows, I mean, maybe there'll just be some huge news that comes out tomorrow, and we'll have to talk about that instead. So we will see. But until then, our thanks to our producers, Molly Ballinger and Troya, whose last name I forgot to get before, but I'll get it next time. She is one of our new producers, and we will get to that the next time. So for Rod Walker and Matthew Paris, I'm Zach Ewing. Thanks for watching The Saints Insider.